Spending all your time in court and doing court case research doesn't sound too fun, but for an attorney, it's the way they live their life. I will be talking to you about the requirements of becoming a defense attorney. Attorneys have two roles. They act as advocates and advisors. In the role of advocates, attorneys represent individuals who have been charged with a crime. By presenting evidence and arguing in court, as advisors, they counsel the defendant about their legal rights and suggest advice. According to the Department of Labor, the education needed to become an attorney is 4 years of college degree, 3 years of law school, and passing a written bar examination. In order to get into law school, a bachelor's degree is needed, but there is no recommended pre-law undergraduate major. In addition, students have to take a law school admission test. The overall is 7 years of a full-time student, but if you're part-time, it takes way longer than 7 years. In addition to the 7 years of education, attorneys work long hours. Their hours range from 50 hours per week or more, in which they spend most of their time in court, doing court research in libraries, in offices, and if necessary, in hospitals or prisons. As my personal experience, I was given the opportunity to have an internship at the Public Defender's Office for 1 year. During that 1 year, I was able to experience what an attorney really did. I was able to interview defendants that were being accused of crime, take their statements, and talk to them through the process. Doing the interviews for both the defendants and the witnesses was hard. It took many hours. I was in there for most of the day, even though I was an intern. And the process that was needed, it was a lot of work, a lot of clarifications from both the defendants, and the interviews were needed. And sometimes it was really stressful, and I could see that being an attorney was stressful as well as the interns, because they both had many things to deal with, as the defendant sometimes getting angry at the interviewer or the attorney for not helping them out. And I was also able to attend court hearings and trials. And the attorneys there at the Public Defender's Office had some specific regulations, like they didn't do the interviews themselves as others attorneys because they were public defenders attorneys, which they had the public investigators do most of the interviews and interviewing the witnesses and looking for the information. So all the things that regular attorneys do, they would have them done like by the public defenders investigators and not by the attorney itself. And as I could see that most of the attorneys were in there from like 8 a.m., but they never had a certain time in which they would leave the office. Or sometimes they would go in there and they would not have lunch, and it was a lot of hours. And most of the attorneys in there, you spend their time in court or court hearings, trials, or filling out court papers. In the future, I would like to become an attorney, and to achieve my goal, I am working on taking college courses, even though it involves long hours and stressful times. A lot of research is to be done, but I would still like to pursue a career. And today I have talked to you about the requirements to become an attorney, such as 4 years of undergraduate, 3 years of law school, and an LAST, which is law school admission test.
All right, Jacqueline, you have to break out a little bit and get some personality into the presentation. You're so focused on what the content is that you're not connecting with the audience and talking to us. From the very beginning, when you watch the video clip, for instance, you'll notice that you don't even look at us at the start of the speech. At the start of the speech, you're looking down at your notes and reading the introduction. You've got to try and connect with the audience to be able to have an influence on them, to get them to care about what you're talking about or understand or relate to the subject matter, and that's the first step that you have to take. The content issues are pretty basic. There's a bit of a structure. You've got some support material there. But I think that the presentation is just very dry. There's a lot of reading. You need to be more animated. You need more variety in your voice, and you need more variety in your gestures and your facial expressions. Maybe you're trying to control anxiety issues. If I'll just focus on this, I'll be fine. And you'll get through the material, but you'll leave the audience, I think, a little cold. And I mean, you don't have to become, an outgoing, gregarious kind of person to do this, but you do need to try and connect a little bit more with people and look at us. And you don't have to have the biggest variety in your voice, but you have to try and seem like you're adapting to the people that you're talking to instead of just I'm going to go through my notes in the order in which they present. And it comes across much more dry than I think you probably do when you're interacting with other people. When you're talking with your friends, I'm sure you've got a lot more variety and intensity, and there's emotional involvement here. Here's something that you feel passionate about, that you want to do, but we don't get that passion in your voice. We don't get the excitement about it or the frustration of having to do these interviews or any of those kinds of things. It's just and then this is what you do, and this is what you do, and it ends up being much drier than you want it to be. It needs to come alive a little bit more. All right, thank you.